All right, man. Make it 4 in a row for the Colorado Avalanche. That is 4 losses now for them in a row after a 4-game winning streak. This one against the Vegas Golden Knights. They lose it 3-2. They were in it. They were in this one. And I know there's no moral victories at all, especially for a team that's defending a Stanley Cup championship. But the way that they played against Toronto, to how a very good team, followed up by another very good team with Vegas, it's improvement, but still not where the Avalanche want to be. A lot to get to between the Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights. Another episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. First things first, we do want to throw out our wishes to Damara Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills, and this is just one of those things that crosses sports lines no matter which sport you cover. Obviously, we are a hockey show for a hockey team in Denver, Colorado, but everybody that follows any sport is behind this young man and the horrible thing that happened to him on the field yesterday. Obviously, the game got canceled. I think it goes without saying that everybody in the sports community and beyond are pulling for him right now. As we're recording this is a little bit after midnight that we're recording this. You're not really getting a lot of updates, but I was watching two things at once last night, man. I was watching the Avalanche game on the TV, and I had on my phone ESPN, just because you don't see this stuff. I mean, people get injured. This is sports. And I think a lot of times we just assume guys are just going to bounce back, or they might have to exit the game because of injury. We've seen guys get taken off on stretchers, and those are a little bit more difficult to watch. But to go to this level, you don't see at all. And for it to happen really kind of, I think, has shook the whole sports community.
Yeah, it's one of those things that no matter what team you pull for, you remember we're all human at our heart and at the soul of everything. And to see him carried out like that, it really kind of takes you out of sport and just everybody's pulling for him. We hope everything goes 100% with him, because nobody wants this to happen, no matter what your sport is.
Right. It puts things in perspective. Like these are sports; these are supposed to be fun, and it's entertainment. And when you get a tragic event like that, you kind of just think about things. So we're gonna record this show, and we'll go to bed, and hopefully when we wake up, hopefully we have good news when it comes out of Cincinnati. So, all right, as far as we go, we'll start our show off like we normally do. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. The questions, comments, concerns, and opinions go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow us over on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. All right, so the Avalanche dropped their fourth straight. This one is a 3-2 loss to Vegas. A great start to the game. Mm-hmm. One shot, one goal. Nathan McKinnon, welcome back. Yeah, we need you. And that after that, it was more of what we've been seeing from the Avalanche, especially during this 4-game losing streak that they've had, and beyond that, still struggling to score, still struggling to create good opportunities to score. But I thought they played better in this one. I thought they played a good game. And well, I want to get your take on that first, and then we'll kind of break things down. But coming from where they did against Toronto to, turn around and play a much better game, but still, you still didn't get the 2 points that you desperately need right now.
This was, I like to kind of wrap it up in a visual. This is a sandwich. The Avalanche put together a sandwich with like $60 bread, but the meat in between was like Vienna sausages and Spam. The first and the third period, they look good. There were a lot of things you could build on and go from, whether it's Nathan McKinnon scoring in 25 seconds, and the Avs, like, really putting up a good fight with a team. By the way, Vegas is 14 points ahead of the Colorado Avalanche in the standings.
Don't say that too loud.
And this team, with all of our injury woes and things kind of out of sorts, they held their own. They only lost by a goal. And we'll get to the stats in a little bit, but we were getting whooped in the stats. But they held their own. They did not give up. The second period, things got out of hand. And if they would have had a consistent game, I think the score would have been different. It might have even been flipped. Yeah. But that second period's where things got out of hand.
It did, and they didn't get the benefit of a no call. It was Hunt, right, who got the stick in the face, which led directly to a Vegas goal. Things like that, missed calls are going to happen, and it's you can't sit there and be like, oh, that's the sole reason why the Avalanche lost, but it didn't help them.
No.
So, but when things are going bad, stuff like that happens. You don't get those calls. You know what I mean? So it's a little frustrating because, even when I was bringing up we're getting ready to record this, just bringing up the stats on, I go to NHL.com, obviously. The very first headline on NHL.com, Golden Knights hand Avalanche another loss. It's not where you want to be.
No.
You don't want to be that. You don't want that headline to be another loss. Like, oh, here's what the Avalanche are doing lately. Another loss. But that's where they are right now. And you said how you phrase it is like, well, they held their own. They played well. Like, yeah, they did. But I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that way because this Avalanche team is better than that. And we're a few months removed from winning the Stanley Cup. And Jared Bednar said it in the post game. He was like, we can't rely on. First of all, he was happy with how they played.
Yeah.
And if I get to what he said specifically, but on this one particular phrase, he said, like, and I don't feel like he gets the sense that they're doing this, but he did say, like, we can't just assume because we've won in the past automatically means that we're just going to start winning at because.
Yeah.
We have to play the game. We have to play the game the right way. We have to play within our system. We have to score. You have to continue to do all those things. Wins aren't just going to happen just because you are the Stanley Cup defending champion.
And you brought up earlier the Brad Hunt stick to the face. Did you look at the power play numbers?
I know they were 0 for 5.
Brad Hunt would have been 0 for 6.
Why is that?
No, if you would have got that additional penalty.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, there's still an 0. There's still an 0 for there. Like you can't say the Brad Hunt would have mattered that much. I know a lot of people are like, if the refs would have called this or that. You had 5 opportunities.
Yeah, right.
This is the Colorado Avalanche with Nathan McKinnon. He's back. You're running out. By the way, Darren Helm's back. We're running out of excuses for I can't wait till insert player name here is back because those players are coming back and you're still 0 for 5 on the power play.
Well, you did get Darren Helm back, but then you lost Evan Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And it's like, when does this cycle end? Like, I said it maybe like a month ago, like it's getting funny now. Not literally funny, figuratively funny. Like it's just getting ridiculous. Who's going to go out when Evan Rodriguez comes back? That's the question. Because it's going to happen. Like just the way that the season's been going. I jokingly put up because the reports were coming out about Ryan O'Reilly is out for 6 weeks with an ankle, maybe ankle or
I think it's his foot.
Is it a foot? Yeah, a broken foot.
Yeah.
So I jokingly said, let's trade for him. Let's get him because then he fits right into the narrative of what's going on with the season so far. So it's just, and I'm not using an excuse. It's just, it is a little ridiculous. Just you feel like these guys are getting Darren Helm, first game played all year. It's like, okay, we finally got him back. Oh, but Evan Rodriguez is not going to play this one. Jared Bednar did say post game that he's day to day. It didn't seem like it was too serious. He said something just flared up during the morning skate and he couldn't go. So, okay, fine. Doesn't seem like too disastrous, like a Nichushkin thing, like where we don't know. So maybe he just misses this game, hopefully.
You hate to see it because you'd like to put something together for the stretch that we have coming up. Like Erod, he was putting together really good numbers, and you hate to see him also start missing out. But maybe somebody else will step up.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to Bet Online, and then there's a lot more we got to get to with this game. We'll talk about Alexander Georgiev, and just how the Avalanche, how I thought that they were in this game, and a couple post rings, and they're still in. They've tied this game up if the post doesn't ring the bell. So we'll talk about that, and of course our sound check that we have to get to later on. All right. Bet Online, it's your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends on every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to the college bowl season to basketball, and of course the NHL. We've got it all at betonline.net. I got to give my co-host here, Kyle Sullivan, some props. We were guessing what the line would be on the final, but I don't. Which bowl game is it? Which one do they do?
The college football. Yeah, I don't know what
bowl or whatever one they use. So between Georgia and TCU, and we were going in blind trying to guess it. I guessed 12.5. You guessed 13.5. You nailed it, my man. Right on the dot. He's a walking
Alabama
Vegas.
blood.
He's
a
Alabama
blood.
Yes.
I know college football.
That's man. Who would you bet in that game? Take your hatred of Georgia away from it. I mean, do you really think like they're going to win? I mean, they're a really good team, obviously, but
I have a feeling about this TCU team.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. It could happen, but don't go on what I say, because I am horrible at betting.
I'm biased as an Auburn guy. I'm very biased against Georgia.
You are. If you love sports podcasts, who doesn't? You can even find those at Bet Online as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is betonline.net, and it's where the game starts. All right. So, yeah, I thought the Avs, as far as like the way that they played, they had opportunities.
Yes.
They didn't get, they only had the 2 goals, but 29 shots on goal that beat out Vegas by 1. The problems are still the problems in terms of the power play and goal scoring, but you could see the fight in them.
Yeah.
Where the fight kind of just like went away against Toronto. They were just like, Toronto's better than us. I'm not saying they gave up, but they gave it the college try and see what they could do. But once Toronto rattled off those couple goals in a couple seconds, it was like, yeah, they're just a step faster and better than us right now. Vegas, it's a little bit different animal. They felt like they could play with this team. They feel like they can play with any team. And I thought you saw it. I thought the effort was there. Again, you saw the normal, the usual suspects who are always like in on the plate. McKinnon, I thought, had a really good game. I thought that top line had a really good game. I thought, the top defensive pairing had a really good game. So yeah, you just have those like little, they say all the time in the broadcast that the odds are just off a little bit. And I'm tired of hearing that the odds are just off a little bit. We're in January. And I'm tired of hearing like, oh, the goals will come. We're in January.
Yeah.
And I know this team has had guys roster changes up and down the lineup, but it's like, how do I phrase this where I'm not going to get myself in trouble? It's like,
yeah,
I'm just tired of it by January now 3rd, that this team should be a little bit more cohesive than they are. And do I think that it will turn around? I do. I do, because I think they're just too talented and too good. But I didn't want it to start happening in, when the calendar changed to a new year.
I will say I would be very scared to be a Vancouver Canuck fan right now, because where this Avalanche team is going, something I think we took for granted when it comes to the Nathan McKinnon return. Yes, it's one thing for what he does on the ice when it comes to scoring and like commanding that presence, but I think something else that you could see with the team is what he's doing on the bench and like raising the level of everybody else's play because of his demanding, like borderline crazy if you're not an Avalanche fan, attitude and what he expects out of everybody, you could see everybody starting to rise to that level again, slowly. I feel like this Vancouver game, with a little bit more time with Nathan McKinnon, seeing where everything is, you saw it in the first with Nathan coming out strong. The second, they kind of went back to what it was. But then something we haven't seen in a little while, some serious fight in that third period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like this is where things are starting to turn just a little bit. Yes, it's a loss. It's understandable. We're out of the playoffs. If the season ended today, we're out of the playoffs.
Right.
But things are starting to turn. And I feel like the Vancouver game is where things like Nathan McKinnon will elevate everybody. And I think we're going to see a jump in the scoring against Vancouver.
All right. Yeah, I could see where it could head in that direction. I completely understand, and I do agree with what you're saying. Let's see. You had. Well, I did want to mention one thing about Nathan McKinnon too. They haven't. He said it in the postgame that he hasn't practiced with this team since he's been back. So they have, I think, 2 days off, and that's one of the things he said was like, "Yeah, we're definitely gonna be working on the power play." I haven't had a chance to do that since I've come back to really have a practice after he's played game. Maybe I guess they didn't practice in between days, but they're gonna work on it. And so maybe this is kind of like what you're saying. Like, we'll see what they have 2 days off to really like sit and stew with these last handful of games. And this is where I have faith in the Avalanche as a team and as a coaching staff that they will correct these things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you were saying about going into Vancouver. 2 days off. You have a lot of film to watch. You have, obviously McKinnon is back. Helm is back. Maybe Erod's back by the time they play Vancouver. So, yeah, I would agree with you. They should be heading in a different direction when they play that game.
I love that you brought up the practice point. Like Helm's return, I was on my way to the radio station, and I saw that about Darren Helm returning. Here he is, boom, on ice, like right there, out of nowhere. He just appears.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, does anybody communicate in these practices that, hey, he's right here, like he could be coming back? Like he just Thanos snapped onto the practice ice, and he's like, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
I think is that what's going to happen with Bo Byram? He's just going to,
he's just there.
He's just there, ready to go. Game time.
Interesting thing, Bo Byram, like he was the one guy that Jared Bednar did not give an update to, or an update for. So yeah, Kyle, if you're not watching on YouTube, Kyle just raising his hands up there. We don't know.
Is Bo Byram part of the Mandela effect?
I don't know. Like it's just so.
Did he actually play for the team?
Yeah,
is he a real person?
I think it was just a hologram floating around out there. And then an update for Landeskog is he's nowhere near close. So that's that's a little soul crushing for us. So especially because it's your captain. You did have a nice fight between Englund and Kolesar, and a lot of people were posting like, "Oh, Kolesar got what he deserved for the buy." Like, no, he has not. No. He will never get what he deserves for the Bo Byram hit. Unless he gets, who did Jamie Benn. That's like a Jamie Benn gets like, sat on his butt. It's not going to be any revenge tour against Kolesar. I don't. But that was nice to see Englund kind of, and then neither one went down. It was just the refs had to break it up. So that was a nice short little tilt between the two of them. But the chances I mentioned at the beginning of the segment. For the Avs, you had the 2 hit posts. You had one by Mikko. You had one by Comfer. And then you had a tip from McKinnon, which just sailed wide. Mm-hmm. I think it was a pass from Mikko, and I think it was on the power play. And McKinnon was right in front of net. He had really good positioning. And I think the pass was just thrown at a really high rate of speed. It had some serious velocity on it where he couldn't get his full the stick, the blade of the stick on it, and that thing just sailed an inch wide. So you have the kind of what you were just saying, like you have those you're so close. 2 missed posts or 2 hit posts and a tip that goes just wide. last year, that's the stuff that was going for the Avalanche.
Yeah.
Now it's not. So you have to accept that and be like, oh, we got to just press and push a little bit harder to get these pucks in the back of the net. And then even towards the end, when they had the goalie pulled, you had that big pile up in the goalie area for Vegas. Like you had to find a way to get that puck. Even the second goal, the goal that they had to be reviewed. So the goals are not coming easy. That first goal by McKinnon, that's vintage McKinnon. And then everything after that just continues to be a struggle. And the Avs have to accept that, figure out, tinker with things, and then just keep fighting. That's all they can do is just keep fighting, keep having at it. And I like I said before, I just think this team is too talented for this to continue for the rest of the season.
And you could see how this team is toying with things. I think it was midway through the third period after a power play expired, because we just can't do anything on the power play, and we go back to full strength. The Avs were still operating like they were on the power play on full strength. They were passing around.
Great.
And they weren't taking just garbage shots. They were really looking for something that would work and not giving it away. That was some really smart hockey that was developing late. And in the second period, Eric Johnson was taking some very good and promising shots. I know he led in shots the game before.
Yeah.
He's taking more shots because he's seeing something. There's something going on that EJ, he feels like he's got it. So there's some very promising things going on. It's just taking all of these promising things and putting them together in a promising pile.
Yeah. 3 more shots on goal for Eric Johnson, which didn't lead the team, but it led. Well, no, it led defensemen. Nathan McKinnon with 8 shots on net, which typically leads the team for them. All right, let's get to some just the basic stats here, and then reverse retros. It's the last we're going to see of them. What's up with that? So shots on goal, like we said, Avalanche led it 29-28, lost the faceoff percentages 55-45. Your power plays 0 for 5 for the Avs, 0 for 1 for Vegas. Hits, the Avalanche led 29-24. Block shots, Vegas led that in 11-7. Giveaways, 13 for the Avalanche, only 3 for Vegas. So stat wise, it's odd because it was kind of even. When you go to Money Puck, they have that deserve to win meter, which I just love to see. It's a neat little tool.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it before. If you want to read exactly how it works, you can. They put it up there how they come up with this. They simulate the game based on the stats and like advanced stats 1,000 times, like snap of your fingers, and they do it with average goaltending. So they don't, like, if you're playing Tampa, they're not going to simulate those games assuming what Vasilevsky's playing like all those games. It's just average goaltending. So for this one, for that Money Puck, even though like most of the stats were kind of equal, they had the deserve to win meter favoring Vegas 75% to 25%, which I didn't think it was that out of whack.
I don't either.
I think it was that out of balance. And a lot of these things aren't 100% accurate, but
this is not a 100% Avalanche team.
So true. It's true. So what'd you think of Georgiev? I don't know. Like I thought he was okay. Here's the thing with Georgiev. We always heard at the beginning of the year, especially coming over from the Rangers where he didn't play a lot. It's been well documented that he didn't play a lot thanks to Igor Shesterkin. And everybody's like, this is a great situation for him because he'll get to play a lot. And that's what he needs. When he was with the Rangers and he had those moments, maybe if Shesterkin was injured or something, or Georgiev got more consecutive games, that's when he looked his best. Well, last night was his 9th game in a row that he's played. And yeah, he looked okay, I think, against Vegas, but are we seeing that 9 games in a row and people are saying like he's got to play consistently, and you'll see a great Georgiev. No, I'm not seeing like what we saw earlier in the year, but I'm not seeing like horrific
Yeah.
Georgiev either. I don't know. Like it fits in with what everything's been going on with the Avalanche. Is just everything is just not a step up. It's
Yeah,
not a
and
step above.
I feel like he's in a position where he's on an island, and for being on an island, he's doing okay.
You're right.
He doesn't have typical Colorado Avalanche defense in front of him, typical Colorado Avalanche forwards that are helping out on defense. If we had the team rolling and working together like normal, I think he would be just fine. And it's one of those things that if the Avalanche are scoring 5-6 goals a night, letting up 3 is not going to hurt you. And you're going to say, well, this was a fine game from Georgiev. He only let in 3. This was a great 6-3 win over Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
He's missing everything we brought him in for. So for him sitting on an island between the pipes with everything kind of still in flux in front of him, he's doing fine.
Yeah, and that second period, Vegas was in control. That second period. What were the 15-9 were the shots on goal? They did get 2 goals in that period, but he had to be on his game during that second period, and I thought he was. Like it could have been a little bit more out of hand, but you still want to just, man, if you could just get one other save. Like we're losing these games, save for the Toronto game, but by 1 goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how many games have we lost by 1 goal? So you want to see that, just make that one extra stop to keep us in the game. And I'm not blaming him or anything like that. This is a whole total team effort and team issues and stuff like that. The power play. If you can score on the power play, this game is at least going to overtime. If you score 1 out of those 5, at least we're going into overtime.
Yep.
And I don't know. So
everything's there for them to succeed. They just got to put it together.
That's I think that's the main thing to take out of all this is like they're so close to being over all of this almost, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? They're so
Thank God
close
for
on all
Vancouver.
this. I agree with you, but I need to see one of those games before I say like that's the one that could be the turning point.
Well,
I'm not going to go into the game and say like this will be the turning point. I'm going to wait till the game happens and say, okay, look back and have 20/20 hindsight, say that was the turning point. I can't do it beforehand though.
Yeah, you have the Vegas, like they're such a good team discussion. If you're putting this kind of effort against Vancouver, you are the victor 6-2, 6-1. So you got to keep building on this. You have to keep it going.
Mm-hmm. And that's in Vancouver, right?
I believe it is.
Pretty sure it is.
Yes.
So yeah, road game. You got to have a great road period. First period, you have to. You have to. You got to come out fighting like your season is on the line. January, what's that? 5th that they're playing? Yeah, or 6th?
5th.
Yep. You do. You got to fight for it now. So I do. I look forward to that game because I think the couple days off, I think they're going to be well prepared for that game. So, all right, last bit of thing that we have to get to with our sound check, and any game that happens, Kyle and I select songs that we feel best summarize the game that just happened. This is Vegas and the Avalanche. You can follow this playlist over on Spotify. Just search LOA Soundcheck version 2. Version 1 is obviously available, which you can follow that. Feel free. But these go up. I'll put them up right at the end of this recording. So as you're listening to this, they should be up on the Spotify Soundcheck playlist. What do you got today?
We're going heavy metal.
Yeah, back to the old tried and true.
Back to my heart and soul. We're going with a band I haven't chosen before. Arch Enemy.
Okay.
We Will Rise. When this lyric hits right here, I'm reading. I'm liking to reading some lyrics for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just take this in. Ignorance is not bliss. So fed up with second best. Our time is here and now.
Okay.
Let it just
played in the locker room.
we got this, especially after that third period. Like, I felt it. I felt like old Avalanche hockey in that third period, even pulling the goalie. I felt it. We were right there. Here we go.
Yeah. You just like you just feel like the scales have to tip in the other direction at some point for this team. So yeah, for me, it's a little bit of twofold, which I'm doing here. The band I'm going with is Modest Mouse. So love Modest Mouse. They craft great albums.
Yeah.
And their drummer passed away. He was one of the founding members. Jeremiah Green was one of the founding members, only 45 years old. I think he came down with a form of cancer that was aggressive, and from what I'm reading, it happened pretty quickly. So this is kind of in memoriam of him, and great band Modest Mouse. And it goes in line with how the Avalanche have been playing lately, which is playing okay but not getting wins. And thirdly, it couples with me not being happy that the Winter Classic next year is going to include the Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken. So the song I went with, all of that encompassing, Modest Mouse, Ocean Breathe Salty is my song. I don't know, man. Like I put it up on Twitter. There's some people who agree with me, some people who don't.
That's my opinion.
I just don't feel there's other teams that have not tasted the Winter. There's other teams that have outdoor games. I get that, but the Winter Classic is different. The Winter Classic is different than the Heritage Classic or just all the other outdoor games that you have. I just don't feel like the two newest teams that have only been in existence for a handful of years are deserving to have I get it with like, oh, they're selling a ton of merchandise and, they're very profitable. I get all that. But for a league that's built on its history, those two teams have none. And I'm sorry, there was a video at the beginning of yesterday's Winter Classic about Fenway Park and the historical nature of Fenway Park. What are you going to do next year? You can't do anything next year.
This is where I get my pencil out and Lee Corso it and say, "Not so fast, my friend."
I'd love to hear your side of it.
Seattle has a rich hockey history with a Stanley Cup title to its. Hold on,
spin, my man, spin.
It could be Seattle Kraken versus it could be Columbus for all I care. I like Vegas. Yes, it sours it a little bit, but for Seattle to get a Winter Classic, I think is a cool idea because that fan base loves that team. If you've seen like what they're paying back for the game of hockey through the Kraken and that arena, growing the game of hockey around Seattle,
sure, it's
another way for you to double down on the best logo, best jersey, best team. Like you did not mess up with this, and they're building a really good team for the future. Give them a Winter Classic and really grow and kind of tip the cap to the Seattle of old and the hockey history we've forgotten. I think it's a pretty good idea.
No, you're wrong. It's a terrible idea. And when they have that future, then we will award you a Winter Classic. But teams like Tampa, who have done more good for that franchise, still has not had a Winter Classic. They played outdoors, I get that, but still have not had a Winter Classic. So
Tampa will never have a Winter Classic.
It's tough to do with that. I get that. I understand that. You're gonna be playing.
See, you could do Seattle versus Tampa in Seattle for the Winter Classic.
Sure. I'm saying it has to be in Tampa. It doesn't have to be in Tampa, but to include them some way. But
I'll text Gary Bettman. We talk every night before I go to bed.
Do you? All right. Tell him I'm not happy with him.
He knows.
Yeah. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. We will be back tomorrow with anything new going on in Avalanche land. Until then, we just got to live with another loss for now. But I think, if you take away from anything from this episode, I think Kyle and I both are on the same path of, we just feel like there's a tipping point coming for the Avs in their favor.
Yeah. So the hand has gone from the panic button to just kind of hold on a second.
Hold it up. Hold up. Hold up. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow.